Hello, my name's Ellila-Jean and I'm going to be playing Sam in the upcoming film Repeat the Movie. And today I'm going to be interviewing the director Richard Miller and the cinematographer Grant Archer. So let's go. At which point in your life did you decide that you want to be in the film industry and make your own films?
I was 23 years old and I came across a story on the BBC News website, which is still there today if you search for it, around Danny Boyle's 28 Days Later, which was shot completely digitally. It was the first feature film to be shot digitally, or very much one of the first films that was a cinema release. And it really went into how cheap it was going to be in the future to make feature films and how it was going to level the playing field for filmmakers. Until that point, I was an avid film watcher, but never considered that I could go and make my own film. So that really got me on the path of making films. I wouldn't say I've ever wanted to be in the film industry, but I've always wanted to be creative, and film is a really good outlet for that.
What does the role of cinematographer include?
So cinematography is the art and science of camera work and covers everything from camera and lens selection to composition and lighting. But essentially it's making everything on screen look nice. So my role is predominantly behind the camera, providing creative direction to ensure that the performances and the story is captured in the most compelling way. Being such a small crew, my role will also include camera operation, focus pulling and setting up lighting between scenes. Additionally, a lot of unseen effort goes into the pre-production side of things. Understanding the intended emotion to be portrayed by our characters on the scene will influence how we shoot it, from lens selection to camera movements and lighting for the scene. We'll try to do as much as we can prior to the shoot itself so that we feel as prepared as we can be. So this might include shot lists or storyboards or even complete walkthroughs of the scene itself for just myself and Rich, but it gives us an opportunity to try out different compositional ideas, try different lenses and also try out different lighting setups for the scene.
If you could work alongside any past or present director, who would it be and why?
So for me, there's two filmmakers that come to mind. The first one is Christopher Nolan, who brings complex, interesting and just spectacular stories to the cinema screen. He has made blockbusters go up another step in quality, and everybody else is following him, in my opinion, when it comes to those real big cinema screen tentpole occasions that happen every couple of years. And the other is somebody on the other end of the scale, David Fincher, who just has an aesthetic that I absolutely love in his filmmaking. Pretty much all of his films are brilliant in the way that they're built and the storytelling techniques that he uses, and just how he uses the camera and colour. I absolutely love Fincher and I'd pretty much watch all of the stuff that he does. So I'd like to just be on set one day to see how both of those filmmakers work. I think it'd be really, really interesting.
How did you get involved with filmmaking and what inspired you?
So I've been a keen stills photographer for 8 or 9 years now, from when I purchased my first proper camera, a DSLR, and I've slowly progressed from hobbyist to professional in that time, but I never really got into the film production side of things. So I've been good friends with Rich for over 10 years now, and actually my first exposure to film production was through him when he was looking for extras for his previous feature film, Neville Rumble. My involvement in film production has evolved over the last few years, working alongside Rich, working on a number of short film projects including Night Tide and Can't Hide It, where I took on the role as co-director and also cinematographer.
Have you ever had writer's block, and if so, what do you do to make sure you keep inspired?
So my default position is always writer's block. If I was to sit in front of a computer, thoughts don't just come out of my head onto the page. Script writing is really, really difficult for me. I'm not someone who has stories in their head constantly that they have to tell, that they have to put on a page. I would just say that getting away from a computer screen is one of the best things to aid creativity, because there's nothing like seeing that blinking cursor on the screen to just make you lose any sort of rhythm to your writing. Just whenever you can, get some space and clear your head to let those thoughts come for creativity. Over the years, I've written around 4 or 5 feature films that I've just given up on halfway through because the quality wasn't good enough, the storytelling wasn't good enough, and it wasn't something that I had any passion about. And I think passion is the main thing when it comes to storytelling. If you can't be bothered to reach the end of writing a script, why will anybody else want to see a film that that follows that story? So repeat really is something different for me, because I couldn't wait to finish the script, improve it and keep adding extra layers of complexity and interest to it. And I think it is a really compelling story. So I think the main thing is, I think most people will just have writer's block from the start. Just try and clear your head as much as possible. That's what I have to do to aid my creativity.
If you could have worked on any movie set, what would it have been and why?
So that's a tricky one. Maybe any of the original Star Wars trilogy, because it would have been pretty amazing to explore the Star Wars universe, and also pretty legendary in terms of movie making history.
And finally for Richard, if someone wanted to get into filmmaking, what would you recommend?
Now I'm supposed to say, you know, filmmaking is so cheap these days, you can use your mobile phone, blah, blah, blah. That is really true, but I would first recommend looking at what other people have done. YouTube is just absolutely fantastic for looking at short films, look at good short films, look at bad short films, and learn from both types. You know, what are they doing in a film that is so good that's capturing your imagination, and what's in a bad film, what is bad about that film, what don't you want to do in your own film. Just learn from the good and bad, learn from all the lessons that you can see online now. YouTube didn't exist when I started as a filmmaker. There is a lot to learn from others that have already trodden the path that you want to go on. Then pick up a camera and do as much as you can. Film. Look at what you did before, learn from it and move on, improve on the next piece that you're going to do. Sometimes you will create a film that's not as good as your last, but try and always improve on what your last project was and learn from your mistakes. And I think that's all I can say about, if you want to be a filmmaker, just keep learning.
What are your top 3 films from a personal preference and why, but also your top 3 films from a cinematographer perspective?
So I don't really have favourites, but immediately comes to mind would be The Dark Knight, Get Out, and also Drive. From a cinematographer's perspective, maybe 7, due to the use of practical lighting to achieve a really atmospheric look. Joker, it just looks cool. And Saving Private Ryan, due to the intensity captured from both the performances and also the location. Really incredible film to watch.
Apart from working with Richard, what presents the biggest challenge of being a cinematographer?
So one of the biggest challenges I've faced is having confidence to put forward my own creative ideas to bring somebody else's story to life on screen. But I have found this gets easier with time and experience, and it certainly helps working alongside a friend. Another challenge, certainly for small budget productions such as ours, is not having an unlimited pool of resources. So you do have to be quite realistic in terms of your creative ideas, both in terms of the equipment used for the shoot, but also in terms of your use of a location. We don't have the luxury of having a complete total shutdown of a location for a shoot, and therefore we have to cope with the unexpected.
Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for Richard and Grant for answering these interview questions. And make sure you keep an eye out on our social media pages for upcoming posts. Bye!